Welcome to the second house of values. This is the house of material possessions, the house of wealth and money, the house of belongings, property, acquisitions, the house of cultivation and growth. This is the house of substance, stability, and self worth. In the second house, we are ruled by Taurus. Taurus is ruled by Venus, which rules all things luxurious, beautiful, and of wealth. In the second house, our income and expenses are ruled. Our ability to earn and our ability to have control over our spending is ruled in this house. It is the house of energy, incoming and outgoing, gains and possessions, growth and loss. The second house is the house of self-esteem. You will find that there is a high connection in modern society over what we own and how worthy we feel in this world. The second house is associated with our career, our jobs. It is associated with our ability to understand our place in the world based on our materialistic possessions and gains. The second house is associated with everything financial in society, meaning the financial markets, the housing industry, the stock market, Wall Street, the banking industry, lending and borrowing. All of that is ruled by the second house. The second house is also the place where we understand how our materialistic possessions affect our daily lifestyles and our capabilities to maintain ourselves. So many people suffer from low self-esteem because they can't acquire that which they desire in their second house. And most of the time, the correlation between the second house and emotional stability is not put together, but they do go hand in hand. A person who is incapable of maintaining a career or a position to have an income will find it difficult to gain materialistically in our three-dimensional world, because you need some form of income to have material possessions unless you're going to inherit it or it's going to be gifted to you. Outside of that, you kind of need some form of inflow of energy to be able to gain in our three-dimensional world. Trying to think of anything else related to the second house. Oh, the second house is also related to ownership. Ownership meaning your home, your car, your bank accounts, your clothing, the quality of materials that you have. All of that goes into the second house of values. One good thing about the second house of values is when you become in tune or balanced with that energy, you have the capability of living the best lifestyle that money can buy. In other words, the second house being ruled by Taurus, which is the stable side of Venus, allows you to not only have the materialistic possessions, but be stable and maintain them for a very long amount of time. You'll have the ability to live out your dreams in the second house. Those who are born with their second house in Taurus find it quite easy to receive and hold on to their materialistic possessions. These are individuals who live very lavish lifestyles. They live in the biggest homes, they drive the most lavish cars, they have the most money. And that's because not only do they have their second house in Taurus, but they've come to understand the relationship between the Taurus bull, Venus, and the second house of possessions. Without that balance and understanding, you will gain, but you will lose greatly. You will probably lose more than you gain if you don't have that understanding and that balance in knowing that as easy as the materialistic possessions come, they can easily leave. And without that balance, your self-worth kind of gets diminished if it's placed in your materialistic possessions. The one thing to look out for in the second house is that imbalanced connection between what we have and how we feel about ourselves. So many people dictate their emotional or self-image based on what they're wearing, what they're driving, or what they live in, that they forget that they are a spiritual being having a materialistic experience. So that's the one downfall of the second house. Outside of that misunderstanding, the second house is that house where we have fun in this three-dimensional world. You will have the best life that you can ever dream of. You'll have the happiest memories, the best vacations, the most luxurious materialistic items that you can think of, be it pieces of clothing, jewelry, cars, homes, money in your bank account, whatever you can think of in this materialistic world, you will have it. But you always have to keep in mind there's balance in everything, and without balance you lose everything you've ever worked for. And that's pretty much the second house. I also want to continue touching on the fact that the second house being ruled by finances is about to get its little shakeup in 2020 when Uranus goes direct in Taurus for 7 years. A side note also is the fact that Uranus and Mars are two of the worst planets to have in this house, because they have the capability to force loss of income and create instability in your life. So as you're reviewing your natal chart, if you find Mars or Uranus in your second house, this is something to take into consideration. If you find it hard maintaining a job or a career or a source of income, you can kind of combat that with your sun sign, meaning that your sun sign is always the key ruler to any of the 12 houses. For example, your second house can be ruled by a sign in Uranus. However, I'll give you an example. If your second house is ruled by Taurus in Uranus, you will have a little combat when it comes to materialistic possessions. However, it won't be as detrimental as you may see, as it may seem, only because your native ruler of the second house is Taurus, if that makes sense. Though Mars and Uranus have negative effects on the second house, if your second house happens to be in Taurus, in Mars, or Uranus, there will kind of be a balance there where even though it might take a little while for you to acquire that which you need, you will still acquire it because your native ruler is in its house, in other words. So if that makes any sense, that's pretty much it for the second house. Just remember, with everything we gain, we must balance, so don't overspend. And we are on our way to the third house of communication, ruled by Gemini.